Okay, welcome back. Here we are, starting on the right day at the right time. Yay! Okay, so let's get this show a rolling. First of all, just the usual warning. Please stay on topic in the chat room. If I'm talking about Arrow, don't start asking me questions about Flash. The way I like to do this is we go one show at a time, and when we're talking about one particular show, please keep your questions and comments related to that particular show. This is just so I can stay on topic because it helps with my ADD. If you came in late and missed your chance to ask a question, just wait till the end. That's when we talk about whatever the hell you want. And yeah, so let me know if you can hear me okay. So, I'm on very little sleep once again. I'm going to assume you can hear me all right unless I hear different in the chat room. So, let's just get a move on here so I can get this over with and hit the sack. Okay. Starting with The Flash. Season 3, Episode 5, Monster. So Caitlin goes to visit her mom to try to figure out her powers. There's something about new Harry that Cisco doesn't trust. Barry is still having problems with his new lab partner, and the city is being menaced by a giant kaiju, which turns out to have a really lame explanation, but I'll get to that. First off, the Caitlin thing. This is something that dawned on me, and I'm not sure when. It's just something that I realized over the course of the last week or so. How exactly does she have powers? Okay, she theorized in this episode that she got these freezing powers when the particle accelerator exploded. And she just didn't manifest them until recently. But they said last season that Caitlin does not have the metagene. Because that was a thing all of a sudden, the metagene. And they didn't mention it before or since, but it's a thing apparently. It's something, and that's not something you can just take back. Caitlin does not have the metagene. Okay? So if you want to retcon that, you'd have to change Caitlin's physiology at a genetic level. Now, they explained in the season premiere that Barry's time-traveling escapades changed the world somehow. No matter how he tries to put them back the way they were, they're never going to be exactly the same. That's because of him stopping the Reverse Flash from killing his mom and then letting the murder happen anyway. Okay, that's the point where the change occurred. Now, conceivably, everything that happened after that is subject to change. Okay? But for Caitlin to have the metagene, something would have to have happened to change her genetically. And that could have only happened before she was born. Which would have taken place years before the incident with Barry's mother. So the only way for this to work would be if Barry's time traveling changed something before that point, which doesn't even begin to make sense. But if we disregard that for the time being, there were a number of parts to this episode that were not terrible, actually. The stuff with Julian, for instance, I actually really liked this. Because they didn't do anything stupid with it, they didn't do any dumb twists that didn't make any sense. It was just character stuff. He's mistrustful of metahumans, but also kind of envious of the powers they have. But then Flash saves him from almost killing someone, and he realizes his mistake. And it's pretty simple, but it's well written, and I liked Tom Felton's performance too. I also liked the Caitlin stuff. We get some character insight with her. She's afraid of what the powers are turning her into. Okay, that's an explanation of sorts, but again, it begs the question of if Caitlin is afraid of what the powers are doing to her, why the fuck doesn't she just tell her friends so they can help her? This just makes it even more ludicrous that she hasn't told them yet. That aside, we get some overdue backstory on her, strained relationship with her mom, blah, blah, blah. This was stuff I appreciated finally hearing about, and, all that was nice. It gets kind of silly at the end, though. Her mom's assistant decides to like hold Caitlin hostage, basically, against her will, because he thinks that her powers are going to be the key to getting him out of the living hell that is working for her mother in this pristine multi-million-dollar lab. I feel like I missed something. And then Caitlin just turns evil for a second and almost kills him. What? Where did that come from? I don't know what the hell this was. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt for now, but this has me concerned that they're about to do something really stupid because we saw the idiotic way this show approaches mental illness last week. And this would be the third villain character with a split personality they've done in as many seasons, if they decide to go that route. So I'm hoping it's something other than that. Nevertheless, I really do like that Caitlin is finally getting a storyline that's about her and not about her love interest dying or turning evil or something like that. That's another thing that's long overdue. I just hope they don't screw it up. I'm sure they will, but let's just wait. And now the Harry thing. On the one hand, I am pleased that they didn't go the route of making him evil again. He's acting untrustworthy, but then we find out the reason, which turns out to be fairly harmless, and we move on. Okay. That's better, I guess, although if the truth was that he's a faker, and he's actually not nearly as useful as Earth 2 Harry, why are they keeping him around? Why can't they just get Earth 2 Harry back? I still don't understand that. I mean, he even admitted that he wasn't even the one who solved that riddle or puzzle or whatever that they sent out into the multiverse. He's a fraud. But he gets to stay anyway? I don't get it. And I'm afraid this subplot didn't quite escape the vortex of stupid that most things on this show tend to fall into. Okay, there's this one scene where new Harry goes out to get a coffee or something, and Barry and Cisco just let him go. So apparently, not only did no one on the team bother to tell new Harry that he can't be seen in public because the Harry of this world is supposed to be dead and confessed to a murder before he was declared dead, but they don't give a rat's ass if he gets noticed and arrested? Wow, what a bunch of assholes. And then there's the part with the kaiju. Okay? They were this close to doing something pretty darn cool with this. Then the kaiju turns out to be a hologram, which I figured out before any of the characters, by the way. But even that would have been okay if it weren't for the explanation. So the villain behind this holographic kaiju is nobody, it turns out. It's just some kid who's a loser in high school and gets picked on a lot, so he figures, I'll terrorize the city with a giant kaiju hologram. That'll solve everything somehow. How the fuck did he get from point A to point B there? Also, you're telling me that a 15-year-old kid who's so fucking brilliant that he can create giant lifelike holograms of things birthed in Godzilla's nightmares is a loser who gets picked on in school? Are you kidding me? This kid would be a fucking rock star in school. Just imagine what he could do with this kind of technology that I'm assuming he invented. Okay, maybe he's just super awkward and can't relate to other people. I understand that. I've been there myself. So he's ostracized from other kids. Okay, but at the very least, he could use this hologram tech to get the assholes giving him a hard time to leave him alone. Let some bullies like some bullies go to give him like a swirly or something, and then suddenly they're face to face with fucking Rodan or some shit. I mean, who the hell would mess with him after that? You know? I mean, he could be a fucking hero to kids who are the targets of bullies. Or other like social outcast kids could come to him and he could make them like a super hot holographic girlfriend so they can look cool in front of the other kids and stuff like that. There's a million things he could do with this. I just find it really hard to believe that the most constructive outlet he could think of was creating giant monsters to terrorize the city because he feels like a loser at school. That was just a really fucking lame explanation, I'm sorry. This episode was not perfect. It definitely had some problems, but it also had some genuinely good things. I'll give it that much. The Julian subplot I thought was really nice. This character is growing on me a lot. And even though I can nitpick her character motivation to death, and I'm not at all confident that they won't turn this into something really stupid, I was interested in the Caitlin story too. Also, Iris's screen time was minimal, and Barry managed to not do anything that made me want to reach through the TV screen and strangle him. Let's not take for granted how much of a difference that makes. So, in my opinion, this was probably the closest an episode of Season 3 has so far... This was the closest an episode of Flash Season 3 has come so far to actually being good. For this show, this was pretty decent. Yeah, I'm actually being nice to the Flash this week. I'm as shocked as you are. Okay. Cisco came off as a dumbass in this episode. Earth 2 Wells told him he had a bad feeling about this new Wells, and he didn't listen and wanted him there anyway. Now he wants to bitch about it. Come on. I got the sense that Earth 2 Wells told Cisco that he had a bad feeling about this new Wells because that was Harry saying that he wanted to stick around without actually saying it. So, of course, he was going to poo-poo the new Harry because he wanted to stay. He didn't want to be replaced. That's how I read the whole thing. Most likely, Caitlin's powers are an after effect of Barry messing with the past. But how? Caitlin was already born when Barry started changing time. I mean, she would have been about the same age as young Barry was. So she would have been like, what, like 7 or 8 at that time? Look, we're talking about she would have had to have been changed on a genetic level. How does time traveling account for that? It doesn't make sense. Side effect of Flashpoint. How does changing time give Caitlin the metagene? How does stopping a murder and then letting the murder happen anyway give Caitlin the metagene when she didn't have it before? It doesn't make any fucking sense at all. Okay. Not many questions for Flash this week. All right. Moving on to Arrow. Season 5, Episode 5. Human Target. Team Arrow are shaking down thugs all over town until they figure out where Church is keeping Renee. Oliver saves him, but not before Renee tells Church who the Green Arrow is. So Oliver sets up a decoy with a little help from Christopher Chance, the Human Target, who exists all of a sudden. They take Church's operation down and leave him alive because they're idiots. And all's well that ends well, except that reporter lady finds out that Oliver wasn't on Lian Yu 5 years ago. Okay, first let me say that I did enjoy this episode for the most part. But I have to address the really stupid thing right off the bat. The team takes Church down. Okay, they take down all his goons, and then Oliver leaves him alive. I repeat, even though Church knows that Oliver is the Green Arrow, Oliver leaves him alive. And the plan apparently is to just put Church in prison where he would be free to tell literally anyone who the Green Arrow is. Can you see what's wrong with this picture? You know, Oliver isn't normally as stupid as Barry, but this was one of those times. How on earth do you leave this motherfucker alive? It's not like Oliver hasn't broken his no-kill rule before. Hell, he broke it a few episodes ago for a guy who had done a lot less than Church had. So why the hell are you letting this guy live when he has all the information he needs to effectively ruin your life and make it a hell of a lot more difficult for you to fight crime? All he'd have to do is tell one person. That's all it takes. Which, by the way, he did 5 minutes later. This is why you don't let them leave if... This is why that you don't let them live if they know who you are, you dumb fuck. Jesus Christ. It turns out they had no plan for what to do if this happened. No plan to stop Church from telling anyone or everyone that Oliver is the Green Arrow, which is a pretty fucking huge oversight. I expect that kind of idiocy from Team Flash, but Team Arrow are supposed to be smarter than this. So, yeah. Church tells Prometheus, and Prometheus kills him. Right after killing a whole shit ton of cops. Which leads me to the other stupid thing that happened in this episode. Prometheus pays Church another visit. Church didn't back off of Green Arrow like Prometheus told him to. Prometheus could have easily killed him the last time they met, but this time, after Church openly defied him, Prometheus doesn't do shit. Because Church has hired muscle now. You know, some guy in a mask with a gun. So instead of just killing that guy, which I'm assuming Prometheus could have easily done, since he just took out like 20 people without breaking a sweat, he just fucks off. He didn't want none of that guy, apparently. This guy who was so deadly that they didn't even give him a name. And then after Oliver beats Church in the climax, Church delivers this chilling warning to him. Oh, it doesn't matter if you beat me, because Prometheus is coming and you don't stand a fucking chance against him. Yeah. Yeah, you hear that, Oliver? That dude who ran away from Church earlier because Church had a guy who might have actually fought back is coming, and he's gonna kick your ass. Woo! It's so strange. It's like they completely cut off Prometheus's balls, and then they tried to give them right back. That hired muscle guy was kind of funny too. He didn't actually do anything that one of Church's goons couldn't do. Your Church hires him to kill the mayor, so how does he do it? He just walks up to the city hall steps and shoots him. Did Church really need to hire someone for that? I could have done that. So, why then do I still like this episode for the most part? Because everything not related to the stupid stuff was actually pretty good. Renee has been humbled by his experience, by being tortured for several days, and has stopped acting like a stubborn jackass, which instantly makes him a lot more likable. I liked all his scenes. I liked Dig helping get through to him. That was all nice. I liked seeing a different side of Renee here, and they're moving him beyond the one-note guy who disobeys orders every week. These are all good things. Excuse me. I liked the plan for how to deal with Church. I mean, sure, this human target dude came right the fuck out of nowhere, and if you weren't familiar with the comics, you probably had no idea who he was. You know, I personally was only vaguely familiar with him. And they made little to no attempt to explain who he was beyond he's Christopher Chance and he pretends to be other people. But at least it was a plan. it didn't account for what to do if Church went after Oliver's friends and family, but at least there was a plan. There was some thought put into it. I also liked the understated way that they handled Oliver finding out that Felicity is dating somebody new. They didn't make a big thing about it. He understands, gives her his blessing, and that's it. Now, the shippers were probably pissed off about this, but I appreciated it, at least for the time being, for a couple of reasons. Number one, I do like Oliver and Felicity together, but I never got super attached to the relationship because I didn't think the nature of the show would allow them to end up together in the first place. So I wasn't super invested in them getting back together. Number two, when they got romantic originally, and that's even before they hooked up official, Felicity's character pretty much turned to shit. I don't know how it happened exactly, but it did. In seasons 3 and 4, they did some pretty infuriating things with her, all of which were related to that relationship. So I'm not incredibly eager to see them dive back into it. And number 3, we've already seen Felicity dating some dude while Oliver pines for her. We saw it for most of season 3. And I didn't like it then either, mostly because of how Felicity was written at the time. So if they don't want to go back down that road again, I'm all for it. I'm sure they will at some point, but for now, let's try something else. So, if Felicity wants to date that cop, you know what? Fine. And you know what, Oliver? You go ahead, you call that hot reporter lady and hook up with her for a while. I mean, sure, she knows you were in the Bratva 5 years ago, but who doesn't have a few skeletons in their closet? At the very least, you might get to sleep with her before she finds out anything else. Go for it, dude. While there were a few contrivances here that relied heavily on certain people acting uncharacteristically stupid at times, I still ended up liking this one because it got a lot of things right, too. Plus it did away with the mediocre villain, giving way to one that will hopefully be a lot more compelling. But since right now he doesn't look like much more than another copy-and-paste Archer type of bad guy, I reserve the right to declare him nothing special if they don't do more to differentiate him from all the other villain Archers that Oliver has fought. Let's see. I'm starting to go along with the fan theories that Prometheus is Tommy somehow back from the grave. Yeah, I'm leaning in that direction too. I am really hoping that he doesn't turn out to be the DA, because that would just be way too obvious. But for some reason, I keep going back to Tommy as well, which I guess I can sort of understand the appeal, but it's like at the same time, I don't want... It kind of bugs me that Arrow started out as the show that wasn't afraid to kill people off, and now it's become the show that's constantly bringing dead characters back to life in increasingly implausible ways. So while I can understand the appeal of bringing Tommy back as a villain, there's a part of me that really hopes that they don't do it. Michael Dorn is voicing Prometheus. Is he really? Did not know that. Do you think Renee will be mentored by Diggle? Possibly. I think we saw a little bit of that here. Yeah. Alright, guys. Try to stay on topic, guys, okay? Okay, off-topic questions are for the end of this, for the end, not when we're talking about the shows. Prometheus is more like the Key than Prometheus. Not that it's a bad thing. Key is an awesome villain. I have no idea who the Key is, so I'll take your word for it. Key is an evil genius who uses mind-expanding drugs to give himself super intelligence and kills people with Key shurikens. Okay. Back in the 90s when comics didn't suck, Key was badass villain who took on the whole JLA more than once. Alright. I'm glad that Dig is back, if only because he's more cool than Felicity to have in the bunker. Okay. I don't necessarily disagree with that. Still kind of pissed at Felicity from last season. Alrighty. Okay. Man. Boy, I still got this persistent ringing in my ear. It's been like this for like 2 weeks. Now there's this weird like tingling back here. Kind of like when your hand falls asleep. Got that like all around this area here, especially when I talk. It's really strange. I'm seeing a doctor about that on Monday. Anyway, moving on. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Season 4, Episode 6, The Good Samaritan. We get flashbacks to how Robbie Reyes became Ghost Rider. Meanwhile, in the present, Director Mace sends Simmons on a mission with a bag over her head, then goes to bring the team back to HQ before Ghost Rider convinces him that it would be a better idea to go after his uncle instead. This leads the team to an isodyne facility where it seems like they were studying the same stuff that turned Whitney into a lunatic in Agent Carter Season 2. Turns out Robbie's uncle was the real bad guy all along. He turns the tables, puts himself in a machine intended to harness this stuff, I think, and walks out looking like he's gained the ability to control Dark Force. But in the resulting Dark Force explosion, for lack of a better term, Coulson, Fitz, and Ghost Rider have vanished. Wow. This really felt like a mid-season finale. With the amount of revelations and plot twists and cliffhangers that were on display here. And they are going on hiatus for a couple of weeks, but it was only the 6th episode. So they must be building up to something pretty big here. First off, you get Ghost Rider's origin. I'm only vaguely familiar with the Robbie Reyes comics, so I don't know how it meshes with that story. I think they took some liberties with it. But this was really effective in terms of explaining Robbie and his motivation. More so than vengeance, he's really driven by guilt because he blames himself for Gabe ending up in the wheelchair, and that's why he's driven to do all the things that he does. It's tragic and it's horrifying and it's nightmarish, ergo it's everything that Ghost Rider should be. Also, there's the big twist that there's another Ghost Rider out there. Is it Johnny Blaze, Dan Ketch? I don't know, but this opens the door for a lot of stuff that they could do with this. Maybe there's more than 2 Ghost Riders. Maybe there's several. Maybe there's tons of these guys just driving around on flaming motorbikes. We don't know. But imagine if there were. Imagine if they all show up. Think about what they could do with that, Also nice is that the episode is one of those, like, it's all connected episodes that ties into things that have been established in other parts of the MCU. Apparently now the movie studio and the TV studio are separate divisions, so they have no contact with each other anymore, which kind of sucks. But, the stuff with Isodyne and the Dark Force that was set up in Agent Carter last season, not terribly well, I'll admit, because I had a lot of problems with Agent Carter Season 2, but they showed how dangerous it could be, and thankfully, this episode did a much better job of expanding on that. We already know what the threat is. That's been pre-established, so they don't have to spend a lot of time explaining it, and they can just drop us right into it. That's the kind of... That's the kind of connective tissue I really like to see in a shared universe, unlike what they seem to be doing on the DC shows now, where there's crossovers like almost every other week without a really good reason to do it, and it just comes off like a cheap stunt. Barry doesn't know what to do, so he speeds over to Star City and talks with Felicity. They're just starting to cheapen the whole thing after a while. Then you got characters crossing over all the fucking time. Here's Dig and Lila over on the Flash, and there's Felicity on the Flash, and there's these other people going over to Arrow, and it's like, oh, guys, you're burning me out. You don't even need... These crossovers don't feel special anymore, But here it's ideas and concepts carrying over from one show to the next, which takes more thought out writing to handle well. Again, as opposed to the DC shows, where concepts and ideas such as time travel, for example, work one way on one show and radically differently on another show, where it's as if the two writing teams aren't even in contact with each other. So there's no connectivity when there really should be, because it's like the very nature of science and reality and physics and whatnot work completely differently on these two shows. It's like, well, it's the same universe. Shouldn't time travel work the same way in both shows? You'd think so, but it doesn't. It's just, don't even get me started on that shit. But anyway, here they establish an idea in one show. We see it again in this show, and it works the same way. Imagine that. You know, something else I appreciated about the writing was how they were able to tie all the various plot threads together. You know, I didn't expect this to happen so soon, but they were able to get Robbie and the Ghost People and the Darkhold and the Director Mace stuff all on the same page here, and it doesn't feel forced or anything. Again, it's the kind of thing you wouldn't expect them to get to until the mid-season finale, but here it is in episode 6 already. You know, it's another one of those things that make me think that Mace isn't going to be around very long term, because he's already coming into conflict with the team. You know, the fact that they don't really trust him is quickly becoming an obstacle. You know, Coulson's trying to lie to him just to do what needs to be done, and it doesn't help that he's starting to act pretty shady. You know, what with sending Simmons on that mission blindfolded, presumably as part of that blackmail situation the lobbyist hit him with last week. Still, though, there isn't really any evidence of him being a villain necessarily, just a guy who comes with a different set of issues and represents a different set of problems that the team has to deal with. It's not like they can just shoot him and put him in a cell. You know, it's more complicated than that, which I like. Now, of course, the big twist here was that Robbie's uncle was actually the real bad guy the whole time. Which I think is in keeping with the comics. I think in the comics he was like a serial killer or something. But I didn't see this coming. You know, they built up these ghost people really well as the big malevolent threat that seemed to have zero regard for who gets hurt in their pursuit of a Darkhold. You know, them almost getting May killed and, you know, killing a bunch of other people. And now it turns out that they were just victims of the guy that S.H.I.E.L.D. broke out of prison to help stop them. Damn. Maybe I should have seen that coming, because I'm pretty, like I said, I'm pretty sure the uncle was a bad guy in the comics. But I thought they'd changed this. You know, that really caught me off guard, because he seemed like a genuinely good guy. You'd think after Ward and Garrett I'd know to be more suspicious of people like that, but no, they got me again. And then there's all the cliffhangers. Okay, this is what made this feel like a mid-season finale. Simmons is being shipped off to some top-secret thing, I'm assuming to deal with an inhuman situation that the corrupt lobbyist wants to keep hush-hush, which is probably going to get pretty dicey. Robbie's evil uncle is now powered by the Dark Force. Coulson, Fitz, and Ghost Rider have disappeared to God knows where. My pet theory is that they got sucked into the Dark Force dimension. Maybe they can say hi to Marcus Daniels, who knows. But there's any number of things that could have happened to them. You know, they could end up like those ghost people, or it could be something entirely different. I have no idea where they went, but that's the fun thing about this, is that I can't predict it. It could literally be anything. Jesus, why do all the horrifying things seem to happen when Coulson and Fitz go on missions together? Every time when they're on a mission, something bad happens. You know, in season 2, they went on a mission and Trip got shot and almost died. Later on, they went on a mission to the S.H.I.E.L.D. carrier and Coulson got his hand chopped off. Season 3, they weren't technically on a mission, but they were, I guess you could consider it like an op of some kind, where they both went to Maveth, and then, well, all manner of bad shit ended up happening as a result of that. And now this. Maybe they should just like keep those two away from each other because they must be cursed or something. But the nice thing about this is that now we get to see Simmons and May and Daisy and all the others go nuts trying to figure out what happened to them, which should have all the shippers just creaming themselves, I'm sure. You know, I noticed that Fitz and Simmons didn't get a chance to make up following their argument about Ada before Simmons got the bag over her head and Fitz vanished in the Dark Force explosion. So maybe this is going to be another role reversal with those two. You know, last season, we saw Fitz damn near lose his mind trying to figure out what happened to her after she got sucked into the space rock. So hopefully we'll get to see Simmons get put through that now. It'd be a nice change to see Simmons being the one who's like, going through hell trying to get Fitz back. And I'm sure the Felinda people will probably get something too, so there'll be something for everybody. But yeah, this had everything you'd want in a mid-season finale. But we're only about halfway to the mid-season finale. So they pulled off a lot of big stuff here. Best episode of the season so far, man. This was terrific. Great plot twists. I love the Ghost Rider stuff. The cliffhangers were awesome. So, of course, that's the note they leave us on before going on hiatus for the rest of the month. God damn it. Okay. Most of the time I want shows to stick to the comics, but in this case I think they gave Robbie a better origin than the comics did. Cool. So yeah, I know they changed some stuff. I haven't actually read the Robbie Reyes comics. I kind of flipped through the first graphic novel in the store. Read a little bit of it. But I'm not like super familiar with it. I know they changed a little. I know they changed something about it, but I wasn't sure what. I'm still holding on to the theory that Ghost Rider is actually an Inhuman who thinks he's a demon. Dude, I think you need to let this one go. We saw the origin here. So unless Robbie was lying or just remembering wrong, pretty sure he's not an Inhuman. And why would you want him to be an Inhuman? It's such a more interesting story if his powers are exactly what they say they are. We've seen characters who got their powers from being Inhumans. We haven't seen a person who got their powers from a deal with the devil. It's something new, and it's more interesting this way. Robbie, was that supposed to be Johnny Blaze or Dan Ketch? I don't know. I think that's the question we're supposed to be asking ourselves. This has to be the best episode of AOS by far this season, if not any of the superhero shows this fall. That's the way I felt. I would agree with that. Also, still holding out my theory that Inhumans are like walking AK-47s and need to be deeply controlled as such, but Robbie's uncle is a fucking bastard. Okay. No, man, makes it more interesting if Ghost Rider really did make a deal with the devil, in my opinion. If he's an Inhuman, that will be a bit meh. Yeah. Yeah, that's where I'm at, too. Another big question is, what the hell happened to Daisy? Both Coulson and Mac tried contacting her, but there was no response. No, they explained that. Nothing happened to her. They just couldn't get in touch with her because there was like something screwing with the comms. So Mac had to get outside the base to get in touch with her. Now she was still on the plane. And I figured Johnny Blaze, which goes to my original theory that Robbie is not Ghost Rider per se. He's Vengeance Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider's Robin, as it were. And I don't see any reason to make him Vengeance. I mean, there's been more than one Ghost Rider. I don't know. I guess it's possible, but it just seems like an unnecessary change, and there's just no reason to make a change like that. I don't know. The guy at the end of the episode, it appears Molecule Man, a 70s villain who was a crazy scientist who could make exotic matter with his thoughts. Okay. Never heard of him, but maybe. Hoping Blaze didn't pass the power completely to Robbie, that way a team up would be possible later on. Either he passed it all or passed part of it in order to save Robbie. It was cool to see that smug bastard Mace get his ass handed to him in this episode. I wouldn't necessarily call him smug. Although I did want to see him get his ass kicked after he said that Han Solo was not a hero, because what Star Wars movies has that guy been watching? Han Solo was fucking awesome, dude. Han Solo's not a hero. Always looks out for himself first. Wow, you completely missed the point of Star Wars. Mace, fuck you. And needless to say, Molecule Man is extremely powerful. Like, he took on the entire Avengers team more than once. All right. I like how Daisy's demeanor has changed since she's now back with S.H.I.E.L.D. It's a nice touch. Yeah, I think she likes being back with them, even if she feels like she can't be around them. I think the whole reason why she left in the first place is because she cared about them, because she felt like her presence had become toxic to the team. And her leaving was her way of protecting them, because the people around her end up getting hurt or killed. Happened to Trip, happened to Lincoln, and her leaving was her way of protecting them. But she does still care about them, which is why she likes being around them again. So it's a subtle thing, but I did notice that too. Yeah. Dark force actually exists, by the way. It's called dark matter, and it's described as, and I quote, a tenuous blackness by which the universes are made solvent. Ugh. Okay. LMFAO at everyone who thought Robbie was an inhuman, as they showed Robbie died and there was no Terrigen mist to turn him. He was brought back by Johnny Blaze. Well, we don't necessarily know if it was Johnny Blaze, but there was another Ghost Rider there for sure. So is Dark Force in any way related to the Dark Dimension and Doctor Strange? Just thought it's kind of cool how this stuff is happening right now around the release of the movie. I'm not sure. Possibly. Where am I? Okay. Presumably, with Dark Force being what Marvel calls dark matter, the Dark Dimension is Marvel's universe for the Phantom Energy. Okay. And yes, Phantom Energy is Phantom Zone from Superman, and also an actual thing. And yes, it's just crazy as in the comics most of the time. All right. Okay. Thoughts on Damian Wayne? I don't really have any. I want Robbie to be an Inhuman mainly because of the twist aspect. Okay, I still think it's a completely unnecessary change, and I really don't think he's an Inhuman, dude. I think you need to let that one go. Let's say it was Johnny Blaze. We saw the poster on the wall last episode. Yeah. I still have to go back. I didn't notice that. Okay, sorry to hear about your ring in your ear. That would bug the hell out of me, but get well, dude. What happened to the honey tea back and to drinking water? I did get some tea. I drink that sometimes. I don't feel like it made a huge difference or anything. But I've been trying it out. I don't feel like there's a big difference one way or the other. But it was a nice suggestion, though. Let's see, I don't think Mace is evil. I think he's just trying to do the right thing, but he's ruthless in his methods. But fuck him for defaming Han Solo. Hell yeah. Okay, let's see. Alright, so that's S.H.I.E.L.D. And now we can do off-topic stuff. You guys are very impatient with these things. Okay. Thoughts on Billy Corgan leaving TNA? Yeah. Uh, I really haven't been following all this trial stuff that closely because there's so much new information that's just coming out all the time, and we're probably not even at the end of it. Uh, the way I understand it right now is that Anthem has been secured as the financial backer for the company. So I guess Anthem is gonna take care of the debts, but the catch is Billy Corgan is gone. That's what they said. But the trick is Billy Corgan is still owed a lot of money for the loan he gave to TNA, I guess, in financing various TV tapings. And they were supposed to pay him back by a certain date. That date has passed, and he has not been paid back. So there's still a gray area there where he's considering his options. Still, I guess, has the option of converting that debt into 30% ownership of the company. So he may not be president of the company anymore, but that doesn't mean he's going away. So there's still a lot of shit that can happen. That's the extent of my knowledge about the situation right now. And I guess it's kind of a good news, bad news thing. They did need money, and I guess now they have some kind of financial footing again, which can hopefully get them out of this financial black hole that Dixie got them into. But Billy Corgan not being the president anymore, that really sucks. I've said a number of times that if there was going to be another wrestling boom period, if wrestling was going to become like a popular thing to watch again, it wasn't going to be because of anyone who was currently in the business. It was going to come from somebody outside the business who came in, who had different ideas of doing things, who was going to push the envelope and try new stuff, and wasn't in the wrestling bubble. So he wasn't going to be beholden to the various traditions and tropes that you always see in wrestling. Who was going to think outside the box? I believe that Billy Corgan could be that person. I believed if there was one person who could make TNA prosperous and have a bright future, I think Billy Corgan could have been that guy. So if he's not going to be running the company, that sucks. That is a terrible thing to happen. And now it's like Dixie is still going to be in charge. Like, why? Why on earth would anyone want her in charge at this point? If nothing else, this whole fiasco of a trial has completely exposed her and all of her shoddy business practices, and just in her lies, her lack of integrity, and just general incompetence as a business person. Why the fuck would you want her in charge? Dixie has got to go, and she's got to go yesterday. The sooner they get her out of there, the better, but it seems like Anthem still wants to have her installed as the company's figurehead, which is a terrible idea. So, okay, I guess the upshot is, I guess they have the financial resources now to survive in the short term, but as long as Dixie Carter's running things, I have zero confidence that they won't end up right back in the same situation in the not-too-distant future. It's like Maria said earlier this year, the fish rots from the head. Right now, the head is Dixie Carter. TNA needs a new fucking head. Um, Thoughts on Damian Wayne? I don't really have any. Did something happen to him? I don't know. Boy. Have you seen Doctor Strange? Well, I'm at home doing a live stream instead of at the movie theater on opening night. So the answer is no, I have not seen Doctor Strange. I'm going to be seeing it tomorrow. Uh, I think Wonder Woman could break the DC curse. Gal Gadot was what I liked the most about Batman v Superman, and both trailers are amazing. I have high hopes for this one. Yeah, I saw the new trailer earlier today. It looked really good. I'm not. I'm not. The accent is a little weird, but it looks like a good. Excuse me. It looks like a good movie. I'm cautiously optimistic about Wonder Woman. Thoughts on the Cubs winning? All right, yeah, okay. So the Cubs won the World Series. Well, here's the thing. I don't watch baseball. I don't follow it. I wasn't watching the World Series. I didn't care to. But I have been hearing my entire life about the curse of the Cubs and their incredible dry spell when what was 138 years without winning the World Series or something like that. So I guess it's nice that they finally won the big one. That's really all I've got, guys. I don't watch baseball. Thoughts on Ronda's last fight? I don't know if this next one is going to be Ronda's last fight. I think she said that she wants to retire in the near future. I guess I don't blame her. She's never really been the same since the loss to Holly Holm. It broke her spirit, clearly. And now she's getting all these movie offers, and I guess she's going to pull a Gina Carano, realizing that she can make tons of money without getting beat up for a living, without getting punched in the face for a living, and so she can make more money and be more famous without without having people take shots at her and stuff. It's probably probably not a very difficult decision. It's like I can understand her wanting to walk away from the sport. In case anyone cares, crickets, the Legends completely changed the Civil War by dropping a zombie virus in it, so I probably belonged to someone in this new timeline. Oh, wow, that sounds incredibly stupid. Why am I not surprised? Oh, and let me guess, the timeline was completely unaltered after they changed that, right? Exactly like it was before. Even though Barry changed one little thing and then stopped that change from even occurring, and this created noticeable changes to the timeline, the Legends can the Legends of Tomorrow can change insane amounts of things in the past, like fighting a zombie virus during the fucking Civil War, and that doesn't change a goddamn thing. Fuck that show. At least they've taken to essentially playing it as a satire at this point. Next episode, they're going to the 80s to meet Reagan. You know what? I don't care. I'm not watching. Do whatever the fuck they want. What do you think about the Flash movie losing its third director? Yeah, it's like that movie is cursed or something. And I'm not terribly surprised. Warner Brothers, the Warner Brothers superhero properties have always had to deal with a lot of red tape. Because it's not like Marvel where they own all their own properties. It's like, it's DC Comics, which is owned by Warner Brothers, which, that they've got to put up with all these movie executives who don't really understand comics, but want to have their name attached, and so they're going to have all these really stupid ideas, and they're just going to, whereas with Marvel, they're making movies about their own characters and stories, so they know what works and what doesn't, and they know how to get the right talent behind the camera, and it's just a well-oiled machine at Marvel Studios. But over at DC Comics, it's a lot more complicated to get shit done. So I'm not surprised that they can't seem to get on the same page with the Flash movie. I'm protesting by not watching TNA because Ditzy Carter and Anthem screwed Billy Corgan out of this situation. I don't blame you, really. Quite frankly, I find this whole situation incredibly frustrating and really discouraging, really. I find myself not wanting to support the company either, but, people stop supporting the company, that means a lot of wrestlers that I like and a lot of talented people who are just trying to do their jobs are out of work. So I can support the roster. I can support the people behind the scenes. I can support guys like Jeremy Borash and Mackenzie Mitchell and all those people. I can support the wrestlers I enjoy without necessarily supporting the company. I can say, these people, they're cool, but Dixie Carter, she sucks. I could say that. Let's see. Gotham has gotten so much better now. You know what? I don't care. Also, thoughts on storyline leaks for Game of Thrones Season 7, if you've seen them. I have seen them, but those would qualify as spoilers. And I like to keep this a spoiler-free zone. That applies to wrestling, and that applies to the comic shows. But, in case anyone's curious, there are set photos out there for Game of Thrones Season 7 showing that certain characters are meeting, which means certain storylines are converging, and it's got me really excited because this is something that I've waited like 7 years for. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I'm very much looking forward to this. I'm excited for it. I can't really say anything else without giving something away, and I know there are people out there that don't like being spoiled. So, if you want to know more, go find the set photos. They're online. You can probably find them pretty easily. Maria is looking to leave pro wrestling this year. Yeah, that's too damn bad. Man, a year ago, I wouldn't have cared. I wouldn't have given a shit. But she has just been a complete revelation since TNA signed her. She's been one of the best talkers in the company. She has proven herself so ready, willing, and able to help everyone else, to help other people get over. Look at what she's done for Allie. I mean, good lord. I think it was dumb that they spent like 8 months feuding her with Gail Kim. And, a feud that had basically no payoff other than putting Gail over. But she's been so talented, and she's such a fun character to have around. And I'm gonna miss her when she's gone. Let's see. You should protest by not watching TNA. Well, again, I can support the roster without supporting the person at the head of the company. Thoughts on Davey Richards saying that 2017 will be his last year. I'm disappointed. The Wolves are badly needed in the tag team division. I know he's got other interests. I think he's been accepted to medical school. He's a family man now. He's got a baby at home, so I can understand that. He just wants to move on to whatever's next in his life. I'm really hoping that he gets. I'm hoping that they'll give him a shot at the World Heavyweight Championship before he goes. I'd really like to see him wind up with option C, Destination X, in 2017. And hopefully, I mean, maybe they can give him like at least a short run with the world title. I think he deserves it. Let's see. Gal Gadot is not nearly what I think about when I think of Wonder Woman. I think like Ronda Rousey. Dude, Ronda Rousey looks nothing like Wonder Woman. Maybe her physique is Wonder Woman-esque, but she doesn't. Her face, it doesn't look like Wonder Woman at all. I think Gal Gadot isn't as big and like muscular as Wonder Woman probably would be, but I think like her face looks like Wonder Woman. She looks like I think Wonder Woman might be in real life. Maybe the build could be a little bigger, but yeah, I think Gal Gadot's all right. I don't have a problem with that casting. I don't follow baseball either, but I almost pissed myself when the Cubs won. Okay. All right. Has Flashpoint been talked about a lot? I talked about it a lot a couple weeks ago, and I pretty much tore that episode a new asshole. What a fucking huge ball they dropped with that. What a fucking waste of potential that storyline was. Jesus Christ. Sienna should be in the. Sienna should be in the WWE Women's Tournament. Well, she's contracted to TNA, so that would be problematic. Will you be watching Survivor Series this year? Possibly. If I'm not doing anything else that night. Don't have a whole lot of interest in watching it right now. That's true. I do not have a WWE network. Of course, that's not the only way to watch pay-per-views. I have no idea what moron wrote Flashpoint, the TV show, not the comic. Yeah, I didn't bother to find out. Probably the showrunners. But God, what a. It still baffles me how they could deliver such a lame duck episode using an idea with such potential. How do you fuck that up? Of all the tons and tons of crazy, insane, awesome things you could have done with that idea, to have such an incredibly fucking lame execution of it, it blows my mind. And I think that's going to be it for now, guys. I gotta get going. I want to eat some dinner and then hit the sack because I had to get up at like 6:30 in the morning and didn't have time for like a nap or anything. So I'm kind of tired right now. And yeah, it seems like things are drying up a little bit now too. Thoughts on Westworld? I've seen the first 2 episodes. I like it so far. It's a little bit slow paced. I'd like to see them accelerate things a little bit. But I'm enjoying it. I'm going to watch the rest of the episodes when I get around to it. I might wait for them to air a few so I can binge watch it. I think this episode. I think this is a show that might benefit from the binge watching formula better than watching it week to week. So yeah. I like Westworld so far. It's good. And that's going to be it. I may have to work Saturday. I'm not sure yet. I guess I'll find out tomorrow. If so, then as usual, we'll push the Impact stream to Sunday. So watch my Twitter feed for updates on that. And I will talk to you guys at some point this weekend. If not Saturday, then Sunday. All right. Peace out. Thanks for joining me. And good night, everybody.